Whoa, my name is Adam Cook. I'm originally from Gulfport, Mississippi, but I currently live in Atlanta. So I'm an artist here in Atlanta, and I work here and just paint the day away. So I'm not super interesting. That's pretty much it. But wow, I've just been just enamored with it. Just have always loved it. And I think from early on, the first bit I've ever seen was my mom. She would always, when she'd be on the phone just talking to my grandmother, or friend, sister, um, I would just kind of, veer off from whatever show I'm watching at like 8 years old. Um, and just really noticed that she was on the phone, but with this steno pad, just drawing and drawing these very concentric circles and just all these designs and things. But she wasn't really, I don't know, deemed an artist or really into making, work. But just something she would do, doodle by the phone, and that just entranced me because it was so perfect. It was perfectly done, and I was like, "How, Mom? How are you doing that?" She's like, "I don't know, just doodling around." But little things like that have come into play. Definitely, like the first incarnation I've seen of art, but didn't know it was art, was probably being way younger than that, probably 4 or 5. And my mom had Sesame Street on, and I'm seeing Keith Haring work on these murals. And for some reason, it was a sketch. It was part of the show. It was wonderful. And so I remember flipping it on. And so, you see the radiant baby, you see the dog bark, and you see uh, the, um, the guy with the hole in his chest. And they're
Mhm.
on this wall in like a gym. And all of a sudden, when the coach or whatever snaps the lights off, uh, this figure jumps off the wall and turns the lights back on, and they start dancing and playing back. It's nuts. So that kind of thing. So growing up, so I've always started drawing, and I have pictures in a diaper, drawing on an easel, things like that. But then as I got older and older and older, um, playing an instrument sort of took over, and so that kind of got put to a back burner because just, and you're an artist as well. We're just curious, so we're always getting into stuff, figuring stuff out. So kind of once I started noticing I could kind of pick up little bits of music by ear, the actual drawing took sort of a backseat, but was still incorporated. So I was drawing guitars in the meantime. So it was kind of intertwining with what was going on, and so I'm probably 16, 17 by this point, really getting into that. And then, drawing it, in school, drawing guitars in my notebooks and things. And even back in kindergarten, um, I love what we had, this little system. So like back in Mississippi, our kindergarten teachers would have what they called journals. So, January through December, we had those little journals where we could draw. One side was blank. We could draw whatever we wanted, and then we basically had to interpret it and tell the teacher so she could write it down. And so basically, how things come full circle. It's wonderful. So like these things that I'm drawing right now, these like very manic, silly sort of gremlin-like
Mhm.
creatures. These are things I would draw in kindergarten, and I can't even think
Love
what the teachers were imagining. Like, do we need to have this kid evaluated before we, continue? Because things are just gravitated to these abstracts, thick paint, to just drawings, to just line work, to just um, I got into a Matisse phase because I was in love with how he
that.
was cutting these big pieces of paper and just, I mean, loved it. So, but yeah, there's definitely a George O'Keeffe phase where these love for florals started to really come, but I was just not sure how I wanted to make them yet. I wasn't happy with them. I was trying to make them again too perfect. Wasn't
Yeah.
thrilled with it. And so, but yeah, again, just because I was just always so jealous. I was like, Georgia, I love just how perfect these are, but again how sensual, and just it told so much. And that's the way she's perfectly personifying nature because it's perfectly imperfect.
Hmm.
That's what I loved about her stuff. You could just find these little brush that's how it was, I don't know, so perfect. Like Kehinde Wiley stuff, it's so perfect, and I love how you can get right up on it and just see that it looks like it could have been printed, but it's so natural.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So beautiful.
Oh yeah, well, and I feel like design wise, well, I feel like playfulness wise, that's where they also stem from. Just in an interview, Basquiat was asked a question, and it was just, the guy was like, "Why did you draw this here?" Well, because that's what it is, and I feel like that's what
Mhm.
these are. But plain and simple, these are just a mischievous child. They're mischievous children. That's what I feel like all of these are. They just from and it's also bringing back those kindergarten drawings, because these just feel like me. They
Oh,
just feel, something I don't need a reference to look at, or because I often thought, oh shit, let's try some still lives, let's try this, let's try that. But for me, what I get from the gratification I get from this is being able to turn my brain off, if that
mhm,
makes sense,
mhm.
and still kind of keep it on, uh, to do the work. But that's what these are. These are, and it's how I feel now too. It was always me in kindergarten. I was always trying to make everybody laugh, getting into trouble. I remember getting snatched up by the teacher all the time. I remember just like, to be put in the corner,
Yeah,
because I'm disrupting everybody else,
ex
because it's like, this is boring. I want to make people laugh. It's and that's what it is. But also, I'm a big fan of juxtaposition. I love,
oh, me
like right, like Dali was always combining like the light, or how did he say, the hard and soft of things. Like he had that fried egg painting, the fried egg where it was tied up with a piece of thread. Like that's beautiful. Like
yeah.
I, it's just gorgeous. So also I love these creatures are playful, and they could basically, and I joke about this, they could devour someone, they could do, you know horrible damage to something,
They're also
but they're
kind of
so,
cute.
exactly, they're cute. They're like the gremlins. You don't feed them after midnight. Kind of thing, or they just go, amok. They run amok, a rampage. They get upset tummies. So, but aside from their, terrifying demeanor, they're sweethearts. They just want to curl up and read a book with you. So that's kind of reflects how I am, and just a playfulness, and that's what I love. And that's how it is when things are just like too serious, too stressed out, just too much. Um, it's just I think there's a playfulness, but also the serious of how things feel. It's real, and it's also like forget about it at the same time.
Mhm,
Um, and I love the fact I've had a few people reach out and go, comment, like one of the first ones, because I made sure their teeth were very,
mhm.
gnashy, just to establish that. And someone goes, "This is exactly how I feel right now," and I never thought about. I'm like, oh, I guess it. Wow, I guess it could, because I just thought, to me, I'm just being playful and not trying to, emote a certain specific. It's
Mhm.
just from being fun, or just, having fun with it. But I love that people are like, "Hey, I feel like this." This is basically like people screaming in a pillow, getting it all out, sort of thing. So I'm thrilled about that. You know what I'm always looking at Instagram. I mean, there's
A lot of
phenomenal artists, and I know you found trillions. It's just again, at the tip of your fingers, you find all this beauty. It's just inspiration. There's so much stuff saved in my phone, like from other artists. I'm just surprised it hasn't had a meltdown, because I'm like, oh, I love this. Like artists, like painters, designers, musicians, fabric, carpet design. I mean, all kind of stuff. I love saving, going, ooh, it's a nice combo or something like that. But inspiration wise, I love to pull. I don't like to leave any stone unturned, because it's like I have that fear of, but that could be this much better if I had just, you know, uh, ventured off into this. So, everything from a conversation to color patterns, how the color of the coffee that morning, um, everything. Because I did locally, I have a gallery show just down the street, and we did kind of a live Q&A thing. So I created these pieces on the spot. So to kind of get everybody engaged, because I didn't want people just to watch me draw. I wanted to turn that thing into a rock concert.
Mhm.
Uh, so, um, so just pulling from people. I love to pull from people, and I love to kind of pull them off guard. So no one knew this was going to happen. So, I'm just kind of drawing. The music's kind of going a little bit. So I'm like, you know, I know everybody's hungry. I'm drawing right now. I'm like, I know everybody's starving right now. Just talking, just BSing with them. Uh, what's someone's favorite food? Shout it out. What's someone's favorite color? Shout it out. What's on
Fun.
your mind? Yeah, shout it out. And I would plug it into the piece because, what better to make everyone a part of it. So I don't like
Fired
people to
it.
feel like you know, I feel like as far as just seeing a bigger picture of it, it just opens up a tunnel vision. And I feel like, just human beings, we all get to that point, and it takes something big. It takes a change. It takes something to just wake us up from the norm. So, if anything, it's gotten into the work of just being more present. And I feel, man, and just with anything and everything, just being in the moment, in the present. You just, 5 minutes from now, you don't know what's going to happen. So again, just with everything, it just makes everything more precious. Like has like normal everyday things happen, you just go, man, I'm thankful for that. I'm with the embrace it, because uh, again, when you try to resist it enough, and it goes back to it goes back to your quote. It's just going with that flow of change. Um it's kind of a Mr. Miyagi thing, but it's better to go with the flow, go with the waves than against it, right? So
Yeah.
it just works out that way. My mother always said, and this is just her condensed way of saying it. It's the way she'd always say, because I was a big worry wart, and
Mhm.
she would, I'd be like, well, what if this happens, and she's like, that's a lot of what ifs. She goes, you can't worry about anything you don't know anything about. So it's like, makes sense. So that's just the thing. That's how to embrace change, because it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So might as well roll with it, and build that scaffolding around it, and,
Mhm.
and go with it.
Yeah.
So, oh yes. Well, and to answer that, it definitely has been meditative, especially these new works, because again, bringing back what I started out with as a child, again, the playfulness, how much I loved doing that kind of stuff, and having that gap for so long from being, in kindergarten and going through these different abstracts, ideas, pop art stuff, just always changing, and then coming back to these is huge time therapy, because it's just during this time where it's hard to remember to be playful, and you know you know look to the sunny side, keep a focus, in the positive, because you just can't dwell in that. So definitely, it's therapeutic, because it's also how I'm feeling too, because you know uh, we went to marches here, we went to protests, and we saw things that were going on here, and it's just, at that time when everything was starting to like really build up and get going with that, a lot of people, I feel like, had a heavy heart. They just had a lot of stuff inside, and same, because and as artists, when we feel something, we feel it big, and so it was just hurtful to see all that. So this, again, I feel like is a bit of an outcry, a bit of like, hey, this needs to come to a head, to an end, sort of thing. But also, again, the screaming into a pillow, the going into like a room where you can just close the door and just yell and let that frustration out, because things are frustrating. Things to go to the bank, to go to the dentist, to do this and that and the other. Things are different from with what's going on. But it's also a reminder, again, the juxtaposition, the light and the dark, to remember, have fun, and that's what's keeping me sane. And I think keeping everyone sane is, I think, actually picking up art, a hobby, keeping their keeping this healthy and active and going. Because yeah, if not, it's hard. It's hard. But also, these are reflect, have fun, um, just it's okay to let it out. It's okay to go through some change. We're on a way to good change, is what they mean to. Because expressing yourself, no matter what you do, who you are, where you come, it doesn't matter. It's important. That's key to your mental. I think that's key to your mental health. You know, the way you dress, the way you eat, the way you say things, the way you, that's key to be you. And like you said, genuine authenticity, you know, that again, when I go to a gallery, that's what I love to see. It's like, hey, someone, you know, I'm perfectly happy to sit and ponder and think on what someone did, but also happy to sit and think, this is just makes me feel so good. I don't have to think anything else about it. I just want to feel it, you know. So that's precious. All right, time for liftoff. There we go. All right, so this is two new abstracts that I'm working on here.
Wow, I love the texture in those.
Thank you. That's the theme of these, texture. So I can kind of come in. Let me know if I'm coming in too far. I want to like.
No, I think it's great.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because there's all kind of fun little bits on these.
Kind of takes a while for those to dry.
A little bit, yeah. I kind of have to leave them all over the house so like they'll dry properly.
Okay. It was great to meet you, Adam. I'm so
You
glad.
too. Take care, Christina. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.